Hey guys, DC Multiverse dude here. Wanted to do a video today that's a little bit different, coming off the back of my recent video where I sort of discussed some of the shortcomings of the DC Multiverse line, some of the nitpicks that I had. I thought, no, we're going to now skew positive because that's the sort of person I am, and I think there's way too much negativity on, action figure and pop culture YouTube channels generally. So I thought, let's do today some of the great things about DC Multiverse. And in particular, really the top 5 things, the best things about collecting this line in 2023. Looking at where we are today, what's great about it. So let's get straight into it. Before I do, can you please like and subscribe if you like this video and you like the channel generally? It really helps me out. Yeah, that'd be really great. So let's get into it. Number 1, the improving character selection. So I know some people are going to get really upset with me and say, wait, hold on, Multiverse has a terrible character selection. We don't even have a classic Wonder Woman yet. We don't have Zatanna. We don't have Poison. Yes, I know. We haven't got a lot of the characters that we really should have by now, that we really want. But pause. This is a really young line. It's only been around for 3 years. I think if you compare where the line was in 2020 to where it is now, the improvement is astronomical, including the character selection. I think in the last 3 years, and especially as we're going, into 2023 and beyond, I think McFarlane Toys has really listened and is starting to produce those characters that we want. We've got a classic Rebirth, or no, actually probably a bit earlier than Rebirth. We've got a classic Golden Age Wonder Woman coming, which is fantastic. And I think what you find with McFarlane Toys though, is they're not just reproducing all the old hits. So it's not like they're just going through the DC Universe Classics route, going through the catalog one by one, which is a valid way to do it. But, they've taken a different route, which is let's mix it up. So for example, you get really awesome characters that we've never had in figure form, like Ghostmaker and Abyss, new Batman allies and enemies. We've never had them in figure form, and McFarlane has made those happen. Of course, in the first year of the line, he did all those awesome Dark Knight's Metal, Dark Knight's multiversal Batman, really unique characters. We've never seen them before, all with unique tooling. Really fun as a collector to get figures that, you're probably never going to see again. Or if you do see them again, it's going to be ages until you get them. Another thing I think is that what you're seeing now from McFarlane Toys, in addition to the sort of the funky, crazy Batman variants like Dark Knights of Steel and these new villains and allies that we've never got before, is that he's starting to incorporate those classic characters that you want to see. So for example, Riddler got a figure. In fact, Riddler got 2 figures, and it really showcases sort of the variety and depth of the catalogue, and McFarlane's really taking advantage of it with sort of a Silver Age Riddler, reminiscent of sort of superpowers and, the Arkham City Riddler. Totally different designs, both valid. I want them both, and I'm happy to have them both, and I'm really glad McFarlane is sort of allowing for that. We've also had the Flashpoint Flash, which is a really classic Flash. We've had Catman, and so I think what you're seeing in 2023 is a real willingness to embrace the whole DC universe or multiverse, and the character choices are just getting more interesting and more fun. Number 2, best thing about collecting this line in 2023, I think, is the overall quality of the figures has gotten really good. So I know in the early years of the line, we had Batman Year 2 breaking his arm, and even this year we've had the Dark Knight Christian Bale Batman with some QC issues. They happen and they suck. Like, don't get me wrong, they suck. They shouldn't happen, but they do. But I think overall, the quality of the figures is really good. And putting QC aside, I think the actual quality of the sculpts is really good. Like we've just had, Abyss, which I showed off before. Like, I just think it's an immaculate looking sculpt. And you can see it in things like the recent Page Punters Black Manta and the movie Blue Beetle. Like, these are just excellent, unique sculpts with like completely new tooling just for these figures. You compare that to Marvel Legends, which I've just sort of gotten into collecting. You can see back there's a few X-Men figures, and they use the same body bucks over and over. Like, there's like 10 bucks, and they just use those bucks all over and over. and there's like a standard female buck, and they just use it over and over again. McFarlane Toys hasn't really been doing that as much. We've seen some reuse of that Dead Man mold, but on the whole, you know, it's a really good mold as well. But on the whole, we're seeing lots of new stuff together with the repaints, like lots of new stuff, and the quality of the sculpts is just like unbelievable sometimes. Like that Jaime Reyes Blue Beetle figure has just got some of the most beautiful sculpt and paintwork that I've seen in like a standard, you know, retail price figure. You know, I think you'll find things like, you know, the Catman has this beautiful cloth cape, which I know, you know, not everyone's cup of tea, but I just think there's like a care and attention that we're starting to see with a lot of the figures in this line that I hope, you know, continues on. And another thing I think is just the general like sturdiness of the figures. Like when you play with them and articulate them, it doesn't feel like they're going to break. They feel solid. You know, some of the Marvel Legends I've fiddled with recently, like you bend their knees and it's just like gummy plastic. Like it just, you almost feel like you're going to break it just by articulating it. And that's not a feeling I've ever had with Multiverse. So that's why it's, you know, number 2. Number 3 reason why it's a good time to be a collector of DC Multiverse is the general value for money proposition. So this is all relative. Action figures, including McFarlane Toys DC Multiverse action figures, are super expensive across the board, and inflation and all of that, like it's an expensive hobby, no getting around it. But I think compared to other players in the market, McFarlane Toys are still a really good value. You know, the collector's edition being an exception, right? Like this is a rare miss for McFarlane. Like the Batwing, which I've got perched, you can't really see it here, but it's up above me. Like that's another exception where the price was just way too high for what you get. But generally speaking, the figures, you know, are pretty good value for money. Again, you know, this Blue Beetle figure is just the standard retail figure, but like, I think the quality here is just next level. In terms of sculpt and paint and articulation and accessories. I just think it's really, really good. You know, I think if you compare it to, again, Marvel Legends, where you've got to collect 6 figures to get a Build-A-Figure, you know, and DC Multiverse is only 4, for example. So you can buy a wave of 4 figures and you get your full, you know, Beast Boy Build-A-Fig, really solid, high quality, heavy figure, and you only need to buy 4 figures to get that. And, you know, also I think, I know other players do the sort of deluxe figures as well, but I think McFarlane has been really, really good with their mega figures. You know, skip the Build-A-Figure concept altogether. You want Bane. We know everyone wants Bane. Instead of shoving him in a Build-A-Figure wave, which they did for the Last Night on Earth version, but for this version that everyone wanted, just a mega figure. You pay $40 US, he's yours. I think it's just a really great value. And the upcoming Batman theatrical 6-pack, you know, there are like 6 figures in that pack and it's like 200 Australian dollars, which is a bargain, relatively speaking, for what you get. So I think generally, yeah, it's an expensive hobby, but McFarlane is one of the better ones at keeping the costs generally tolerable, which, you know, is pretty important these days. Reason number 4 is the sort of ease with which you can jump into this line. So it's a young line, it's like 3 to 4 years old. And what that means is it's actually not too hard to get into the line now and get all the characters that you want. Now, there are some figures from early on in the line, such as the Grim Knight and the Arkham Knight Batman and the Arkham Origins Deathstroke. And, you know, they're getting hard to find, they're getting expensive. The Red Hood from the Nightwing Red Hood 2-pack, like, we're due a reissue of that one. But generally speaking, you know, he's re-released a few Red Hoods since then. You want a particular character, you can get a particular character. You're never going to be wanting for Batmans. You know, there's a new Batman every month. But you know, generally the figures are fairly readily available. They're not too expensive on the aftermarket. You can find them in places and you can sort of get the figures that you want, by and large. So you compare that to other lines that have been going for years and years and years, and some of those figures from the early days, just forget it. You won't find them anymore, or they're of such lower quality than the modern versions that, you know, you don't want that crappy old version. You're waiting for a new version and waiting, and you're sort of not getting it. So I think now's a really good time to get in on the Multiverse line if you haven't already. There's a great selection of characters to keep you busy hunting. and you can by and large get most of the figures that you want without too much difficulty. So that's why it's number 4. Reason number 5 is that the DC Multiverse line is an evolving and experimenting line, and I think you can really tell that McFarlane Toys is listening to customer feedback in a really tangible way. So for example, everybody hated these ball joints, that they used to come with. The articulation was really dodgy. The ball joints were really unattractive, and that has been replaced, with experiments with new sculpts, and now we've got sculpted ankles that the ball joints are sort of more sculpted with the rest of the leg and the wrist joints, and so that's a really nice evolution. We've seen lots of evolutions like that. The butterfly joints have improved. We're seeing a better character selection, which I talked about earlier. We're getting the cloth capes, which I think is a nice evolution of the line. And some recent figures have come with alternate heads, alternate hands, which is something that we've all been sort of like, come on, McFarlane, give us the heads and the hands. And we're starting to get that, with the Barry Allen Flashpoint Flash, we got an alternate unmasked head, which is great. And with the recent Riddler, we got all those extra hands. So I just think, we're starting to see more and more of that, and you can feel the line changing generally for the better over time, which I think is really important. It kind of gives you the confidence that the more we voice give our feedback and voice our concerns, that some of these things will be implemented in future. That is it. They are my 5 reasons for why it's a really good time to be a DC Multiverse collector and why I love the line. Let me know if you disagree. Am I just being completely ridiculously overly positive? Let me know. Be kind. What are some of your favorite reasons to collect the line? What are some of your least favorite things about the line? Tell me everything. Subscribe if you haven't. Like this video, it really helps me out. And I'll be bringing you some more videos soon. Hopefully a review of that Batman theatrical 6-pack next week. That's what I'm really looking forward to. Until then, happy collecting and thanks for watching.
This video was brought to you with the support of Fett's Hideout Toys and Collectibles. For a great range of toys from DC Multiverse to Black Series to Marvel Legends, Hot Toys and more, visit Fett's Hideout Toys and Collectibles and use the offer code DCDUDE. That's DCDUDE for an exclusive discount month to month. Could be 5% off or $5 off at checkout. Try the code, see what you get, place an order with Fett's, and you won't be disappointed. And we thank Fett's for their continued support of this channel.